We're getting there. We've almost got all the pattern pieces done, so we can move on to making the coat. In today's tutorial, we're going to do the back, which is a little more like straightforward. Like the back foundation, the back pattern piece is also a little bit more straightforward and a shorter tutorial. And because of that, we're going to get the sleeve drafted and the back collar piece in this video. So let's get to the tutorial. Okay, so this is going to be the back pattern piece. Now, this is going to go faster because there's not as many changes. At all. So we're going to start with the top, and I just have lost my pencil. So for the shoulder, we're going to raise it. So at dot 1, we're going to raise it 1/4 of an inch. And at here, we're going to raise it 1/2 inch. And then just draw that line. Let's do it in marker just because we're not changing that line. And the only thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to just sort of adjust that neck piece ever so slightly. You're going to have to smooth it out. Okay, so there, that was easy. Now from here, we're going to come in 1/2 inch. And again, we're making the armhole bigger because of the coat. It's a thicker material usually. And down here, we're going to drop it I think that says 3/4. I believe that says 3/4 of an inch. Again, sometimes the numbers are so small. But considering what we've already done with the front coat, that makes sense. So, because we went down 3/4 of an inch there too. So you're going to want to keep that consistent. Now we're going to line up F, which is on the, yeah, it's on the front template. And we're going to line it up with that new dot that we just made. And you're going to line it up with that 1/2 inch that you came up here. And draw your curve. And I'm just going to go over that with the marker because I'm not doing any other changes there. Okay. So that is your new armhole. And again, like the front piece, you know, it says comes down like 13 inches and you come in 3/4 of an inch, but you already did that on your original foundation, so you don't need to replicate that again. Now just keep in mind it's only with this. Now if you're doing a dress, that might be, you might need to make that change, but you don't need to here. So on here at the waistline, it's saying to come in 1/4 an inch. Now I am going to make that measurement, however I'm not going to reduce that on my pattern piece, only because I do have a bigger waist, so I'm not actually going to remove that 1/4 inch. It's up to you if you want to do that, but I am going to mark it because you're then measuring in 3.5 inches from that point. that's along the waistline. So measure in 3.5 inches, make a mark, and then you're going to draw a straight line from here all the way to the bottom of your garment, and that is going to be the seam line. Oh, also this dart that is on your foundation, ignore that. And this is to the bottom of the original foundation. Again, I do apologize for all the shifting around. One day will actually have a proper table for this. I just need a bigger space too. And the line I am drawing right now is actually going to become a seam. So it's going to become a seam, and I will explain that in another video, because I'm going to have to do a toile. So I'm going to do it in that video. I'm going to do tips on how to do certain things. So I'll get to that then. And then from that line, you're going to measure over 1 inch. And you're going to draw a 2.5 inch line straight up. And then you're going to measure over 1/2 inch from that and make a mark. And then you're going to measure over 1 inch from that straight line. Nope, that is a 1 inch between where that seam line that you made, and you're going to draw a line towards there. Like so. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put this dart in here, and this dart you're going to pin it up, and it will help with the shaping of the coat. So next we're going to do the dart. You're going to be pinning this up, and it's going to help with the shape of the coat. So what we're doing for this now is we're going to measure over 1.5 inches from the solid line. Make a mark. And then another 3/4 inch. Make a mark. Find your center. And then make a mark down on the hip line. Ignore this. I put those lines in the wrong spot. They go above the waistline. And then you're going to draw your dart. Now, before I pin it up, we're going to draw one more line, which is going to be, well, actually, let's do 2 more lines before we pin it up. So we're going to do over here on the back. Now, you can't do this on the fold, unfortunately, because we are widening one side of the coat, which normally would be the fold line. And you're going to be cutting out 2 of these because you're going to be creating a seam, because there is a small vent that you're going to be putting at the bottom, which we'll get to in a minute. But so what you're going to do is you're going to, and what I'm going to do is shift my paper, is you're So from your original foundation, you're going to measure out 1 inch. And make a dot. And then from the waistline, you're going to draw a straight line from there all the way down to that dot you just made. And the reason you cannot cut this on the fold is because this is very similar. The bottom of this coat is going to be slightly similar to a circle skirt. And the next line I'm going to show you to draw is going to explain why. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is from the bottom of the dart, you're now going to draw a straight line to the bottom of your coat. Not a straight line, a dotted line or a dashed line. And this line is now going to become a cut line. We're not going to do this just yet. I want to finish the rest of the coat. Okay, so what we're going to do, again, I'm not going to do it right now, but we're going to do it in a moment, but you're going to cut this line all the way up to the bottom of the dart, and you're going to open it up and insert a piece of paper of making it as like 2 inches wider, because that's going to give the coat an angle like an A-line. Which means when you sew the final coat, you're going to have to let it sit for a while before you hem it, because you're going to need the hem to fall. Okay, so now that we've done that, oh, and the extra inch over here is going to be for the vent. So now we're going to finish the other side, which is literally just drawing over the original foundation lines, because we're not changing anything over there. So I'm just going to go over the, I have, as with the front, traced this out already, so I'm just going to go over these lines, and then we will open up the coat. Well, actually, we're going to pin up the dart, and then we'll cut open the coat and add a piece of paper behind it so we can open it up by 2 inches. Okay, so I've pinned up the dart, and I open this up. So I'm going to take a spare piece of paper, put it underneath. There we go. Just kind of line it up the best I can at the bottom. It doesn't matter. I'm going to probably cut away the excess later anyway. And then measure 2 inches on the bottom. So measure 2 inches on the bottom here. Okay, and then tape one side in place. And I just measure again because it does shift as you're taping. And then tape the other, and then just tape up to secure it. And then secure the back as well. I'm going to trim away the excess paper in the back first, and then I will, oops. Make sure that it's smooth when you're doing it. I just accidentally bunched it up there. Okay, and then you're done. Back piece is done. All right, on to, this video is about the sleeve. So after doing the sleeve foundation, we don't actually need it for this sleeve. And this time I'll be going this way. So the sleeve foundation does come into play for things. In this case, we're not using it. So what you're going to do is you're going to start out by drawing two, I've already done it in pencil just to make this part go faster, because I know the other two videos are long. So what you're going to do first is you're going to draw a 2-inch line. Now I made mine longer just because it was easier for me to see what I was doing, but you're going to initially make a 2-inch line this way and just do a dotted line in pencil. And then do a, but I am going to do it in marker so you can see it. I'm just going to cut it away when I cut out the pattern piece later. And then you're going to do a 4-inch line this way. Again, dotted or dashed, whatever is easier for you. Oop. And that is going to be your starting point. Now, what I did first was I measured the left-hand side first. And so that's 4 inches down. And then in total, it's 8.5 inches from here to here. So go ahead and mark 8.5 inches and then draw a solid line from the bottom of that dotted line. So in total, you want that to measure 8.5 inches. So from here to here is 8.5 inches. And then what I did was I then took my sleeve length from the bottom of that line and drew a line all the way to where my sleeve length would end. Now, the beauty of how simple this sleeve pattern is, or any sleeve pattern really, you can always shorten or lengthen the pattern piece after you've done a toile. So I've drawn the line to the bottom of my sleeve length. Again, and you're using, I should mention the sleeve length that you took the measurement for. Then you're going to draw another line across the bottom here for 6.5 to 7 inches. This is for going to be for your cuff. I did 7 inches, and again, you can always take it in. So that's how I started this. Then the next thing I did was I drew So at the bottom of this 8.5 inches, I then drew a dotted line. So then what I next did was I drew a dotted line, and that measurement is half your armhole measurement less half an inch. So your armhole measurement divided in 2 minus half an inch, and draw a dotted line there, because then that lets you know where the bottom of the armhole is. I'm just going to put it in marker because so you can see it. So those were the first measurement or lines I made, and it just makes your life easier later. Now the other one you can also do if you want, because this is not, there's not major adjustments done here, is from the top of the armhole dotted line you just made to the bottom of your cuff, you can draw another line. Just draw that line. It's not curved, it's just a straight line. And then you have those lines done and out of the way. Okay. And then now we just have to concentrate on the sleeve cap. So at the bottom of that dotted line, we're going to do the first sleeve cap line. And for that, you're going to need the broad arrow. And at the end of that 2-inch dotted line that you made, you're going to put the broad arrow. And then you're going to move where it says BC. You're just going to move it so that it lines up with that, the bottom of the dotted line on the left. Oops. It keeps moving. There we go. And then draw a line. So what you're going to want to do with this afterwards is you are going to want to trace out the pattern pieces, because they've done it, the front and the back together, because this part of the front and the back and down here as well all stays the same. The only thing that's changing is the way that the sleeve sits into the coat. So you're going to want to do the sleeve part, or sorry, the front sleeve first. So from up here, you're going to be using, oh, sorry, there is one more measurement, I apologize, that you need to make. So you're going to measure in 3 inches from the bottom corner of, or the far right hand side of that dotted line. You're going to measure in 3 inches and make a mark. And then you're going to measure up 4 inches from that, straight up from that dot, that mark, and make a dot, and make a, whoops, don't move, make a dashed or dotted line. Let me just okay, because that's going to help you with your curves. So you're going to line up the, where are we here? Is it this one? Sorry. There's a broad arrow on both of them, and they're slightly different, so make sure you're using the right one. There we are. So you're going to, with the front piece, the front template, you're going to line up the broad arrow where you came in 2 inches. And see where the top of that dash line is? You're going to line the template up with that, which is the, what do you call it? The BC Just making sure it is lined up. Ow, I keep drawing on the template. And then you're going to write the word ease. Also seam, put seam on that side and the word ease on that side. And then, whoops, from that point, you're now going to use the, please ignore this black line. I'm going to do a red line. I messed up. So we're going to use the curved line, the curved arrow. So line the curved arrow up at that 2-inch mark. Ignore that black line, please. And line the BC up with the top of the 4-inch dash line you just made. And you're going to draw a line. Again, ignore my black line. I don't know why I was using the broad arrow for that. Use the broad arrow down here. So then what you're doing next is you're going to use the broad arrow for down here. And you're going to line up, move stuff out of the way. I got to move this down a bit. You're going to line the broad arrow up down here. Oh, and I can use the black again. Actually, you know what? I am going to continue with the red because then that way I know for sure what is the front piece and the back piece. So, and again, where you ended that top line, just line the BC part of the template up. And then continue that line. And just mark that front piece. And then you're just going to do the same thing or similar with the back sleeve part. So what you're going to do is with the curved line, oh, you're going to measure out, sorry, from the top of that 4 inches. You're going to measure out 3/4 of an inch, which I've already done. And then you're going to measure down to that with the curved line. Stop moving. But you're still going to use the curved line for that second half of that line. So you're just going to line it up down here at the bottom. Match the BC up with the bottom of the other line. Continue that line so they match. And that is your sleeve. It was actually pretty fast and pretty easy. And with the other pieces, please make sure you're marking it with what it is, what book it came from. You're going to cut 2 front and 2 back pieces out for this. Okay, so that is the front. Okay, and the last piece, main pattern piece you're going to need to do is the collar. And I've also just traced this out ahead of time to make this go a little faster. So what you're going to do, similar to the sleeve, is you are going to draw some dotted lines first, just so you have a frame to work from. So you're going to go up 3 1/4 inches. And this is a super easy piece to draft. And you're going to go across half your neck measurement plus 1.5 inches. Yeah, and unfortunately these, like I said, these templates are not wide enough to do. Okay, anyway. And then you're gonna go down 3 inches. And it's just easier to have something like this so you have a base to work from. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go up 3/4 of an inch and just do another dotted line there. And from there you're going to measure in 1/2 inch and make a mark. And from the bottom of the dotted line here, you're going to line up K, which is on the back template, I believe, yeah. So K is going to be at the bottom. And then you're going to line the blue line up with that dot you just made at the top. You're going to draw a line. And that's your first line. So next, from that mark you made, that where you came in 1/2 inch, you're going to, this is the neck part, actually you're going to want to mark that too, just so you know where the neck is. First what you need to do, I'm skipping ahead. First, over on this corner, you need to come in 1¼ inches. And make a dot. And then using D, you're going to put the D arrow here. You're going to line your template up over here, and you're going to draw a line. And that's your next line. Then from there, you're going to draw a straight line from here to here. And then this is slightly curved, so you're going to be using K again. And you're going to line up K over here, again in that corner on the left. And then just at some point you're going to have to move your template over and draw over to that line. That is your collar piece. So for this is the back collar piece, by the way. It's not, the front collar piece is cut on, as you would have seen with the front pattern piece that we just did. The back collar is done separately. So make sure you are marking that as well. And you're going to be cutting 2 top collar pieces and 2 facing pieces. Now, if you're doing, just making a little bit of noise, if you are doing the under collar a separate color, then go ahead. Otherwise, you would just do the collar the same, the top and the bottom. So you now have your pattern pieces. Now, as with all of my Haslam, this is actually, these pieces are now my master pattern pieces because they do not have seam allowance on them. And I mark in red that it is master and to add seam allowance. So what I will be doing is making tissue pattern pieces and adding the seam allowance to that. And with those tissue pattern pieces, I'll be using those to make any changes first before I do the final coat. So as I do each toile, I'll be doing tissue paper pattern pieces traced from these. And also it's easier to do tissue because you can do tissue fitting. So now we have the back piece, the front piece, the sleeve piece, and the collar. Again, make sure you're marking what the piece is, what book it came from, the figure, like which illustration, how many pieces to cut. So the back is going to be 2 back fabric, 2 back lining. The front is going to be 2 fabric, 2 lining, 2 facing, and 2 facing in, and then interfacing if you're putting interfacing. Some people use fabric, whatever. And then for the sleeve, you're going to be doing 2 front, 2 back, 2 front lining, 2 back lining. And the collar, you're going to be cutting out basically 4 pieces, because again, you can't cut this on the, unfortunately, you cannot cut this on the fold. Okay, so hopefully that all made sense. And I'm back. You now have all of the pattern pieces you need, the basic pattern pieces you need. Something else you are going to have to draft is the, as I mentioned in the videos, you're going to have to draft the facing pieces, as well as you're going to have to draft the lining piece if you're going to line your coat. And when I actually get to that like point of, in the upcoming videos where I'm actually putting the coat together, I'll show you then how I draft the facing and how I drafted the lining. But for now, it's the outer shell that we're working on. So yeah, so upcoming videos is going to be like sort of like a video on, you know, how I did the toile, how I did the fitting, other odds and ends like the facing, what I'm going to do for buttonholes, the lining, all that stuff, right? And also the final coat. So, which is going to be in a fabric that is meant more for spring and fall. So, because by the time I get that coat done, it's going to be spring. So, you got all your pattern pieces now. So, you're ready to go. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe. I would love it if you subscribed. You will also find out when all these videos are coming out, so you won't miss any of them. And until next time, stay kitschy. Bye!